I got a lot of great resources, got to connect with people.
It was amazing. I feel like I learned a lot more than what I came in for. I feel like the people who joined the Village Market here to learn, they were very impactful.
Welcome to the Village Market's virtual event, Accelerate Tools and Strategies to Push Forward, which has been brought to you in partnership with our friends at Shippo. We are happy that you are tuning in for this amazing and powerful conversation. First, a few housekeeping notes. All attendees have been muted for this program. At the end of each segment, we're going to make sure that we take a few questions from the audience. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we will select a few to answer. We hope you're excited for this program. We have an amazing, and I can't express this enough, an amazing lineup with dynamic speakers. Up first, Dr. Hallmon, founder and CEO of the Village Market, will share in conversation with Angel Gregorio, founder of the Spice Suite in Washington, D.C. Dr. Hallmon is the founder and CEO of the Village Market. Dr. Hallmon is committed to revitalizing and unifying her community by curating community-led events that celebrate the arts, change makers, entrepreneurs, plant-based advocates, and educators. Dr. Hallmon is a social entrepreneur, curator, speaker, and passionate educator. Angel Gregorio is becoming one of DC's, District of Columbia's, most recognized next-gen Black female entrepreneurs and influencers of our time. Angel is the founder and owner of the Spice Suite, a growing community-centric spice boutique located in the city Tacoma Park community. The Spice Suite is aimed at not only providing its patrons with unique and interactive culinary experiences, but was also established with a mission to support and empower other local grassroots business owners to maximize their own potential and success. Dr. Key, take it away.
Let's try that again. Kris, thank you. Thank you so much for the great introduction. And before we hop into this conversation, I have to, of course, thank our partners at Shippo for being so amazing. Angel, I have been anticipating talking to you for several weeks now. You are a superstar. I think I heard of your company, before I got to see the magic from online from our friend Unique. So she had said so many times, like, oh my God, you got to see the Spice Suite. You got to see the Spice Suite. You and Angel are kindred. So I'm so honored to have this conversation with you tonight. How are you doing?
Likewise. I've also heard so many great things about you and what you're doing. So I'm grateful, honored. I'm good. No complaints at all.
Good. So let's hop into this conversation, because I will share, when we announced that we would be having a conversation with you, we got flooded with, that's all a good thing. People wanting to learn just what is the secret to the spices and your sauce and who you are as an entrepreneur. But before we get there, you're a former educator, right?
I am a former assistant
Me
principal.
too.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me about your journey in education first, and then I would love to walk this conversation to how you became this superstar that you are at this time.
So I went to Howard, HU, and got my bachelor's and master's in psychology. And I thought that I was going to be a psychologist working in like a juvenile detention center. That was kind of my dream, like to work alongside young people who've been incarcerated, because I have 3 brothers. And at the time that I was in Howard, all 3 of my brothers were incarcerated. 2 of them are still serving life in prison. So I always had a really deep connection to that population, and not just on like charity, right? But it was like very personal for me. So I started working at a juvenile jail, thinking I was going to get this entry-level position, to work my way up. And then I started as an assistant teacher, ended up becoming a teacher, getting certified, and I fell in love with education. And then I just detoured and forgot all about my degrees and all the money I spent at Howard in psychology, and decided to go on this education track and work my way up from teacher to counselor, dean to assistant principal.
Wow.
And mommy.
Yes, I hear. But very similar to you, HBCU grad. Shout out to Tougaloo College in Jackson, Mississippi. I started in education, ascended through leadership, and I don't know if your calling was similar to mine when it was time for me to leave the classroom, leave administration, and do something different. I didn't fall out of love with teaching or loving young people. I was just compelled to do something else. How about for you?
So for me, I never fell out of love with the kids. It's never the young people, right? Like, it's like as you go higher, it's usually the adults that make you realize this is the space you want to be in. The kids, I still love and talk to all the time. But for me, I didn't even know that I wanted to leave education. Like, I kind of accidentally left. And even when I left to open the Spice Suite, I still thought that I would always come back to it. Like, my best friends are principals, and the first 6 months of opening the shop, I remember texting them all the time, like, yo, just keep a job for me just in case the spice thing don't work out. Like, hold the position open for me. So I still wasn't sure.
Yeah, the same. I don't think, you've been called to education. I don't believe that you leave it. I think the class becomes your classroom. And so that's what I've seen you do with the Spice Suite. Now, how did you transition to the Spice Suite? How did this happen?
Girl, it was just abrupt. Abruptly. That's how. I literally just leaving a nail salon, a Black-owned nail salon, not too far from where I grew up, continuing to want to support Black business. And I had been a real estate investor. So I'd owned residential real estate in DC and owned a few houses and had tenants. So I had backup income. And I always, kind of tell that part of the story, because when people hear how serendipitous my journey was, they assume that I did this without zero cash coming in anywhere else, right? Like, I did have money coming in there, but I was walking down the street and saw a Phillip sign. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with the space, or that I even wanted the space. I was really just curious about what commercial properties cost in the neighborhood near where I grew up, because my family still lives a few blocks away from the Spice Suite. And when I called to inquire, the landlord, of course, wanted to know, like any good landlord, what do you want to do with my space? And I was like, oh, I have no idea. I thought it was like an apartment where if I call, you just say, oh, it's this amount of money per month. And it didn't matter what I wanted to do with it. And so he said, well, we're looking to make a decision on Tuesday. This was on a Thursday. And so I said, okay, I want to open a spice shop. Can you just tell me the price? And I literally hung up and called my husband and my best friend and was like, yo, I'm opening a spice shop. And just they were like, girl, like, since when? Like, what's a spice shop, first of all? And what are you going to do with it? And I was like, I don't know, but I just said it and it sounds dope. Let's think of a name. And that was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit, because you did talk about real estate, and real estate has been a topic of conversation now. Folks want to know how to get into the industry, how to own, how to negotiate. How did you learn that process?
So I kind of learned it as a homeowner first. Like, I was renting for a long time in DC. And rent in DC just became very expensive. And I decided to purchase. And I purchased actually with my refund check from Howke. It's how I purchased my first house. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
And then I purchased my first house, and then my family started to grow. I got pregnant with my first child, with my son. And I realized that this little starter home that I was able to afford was not going to cut it. And I didn't want to sell it. So I decided to rent it. And I literally, it was that moment when I decided to rent it that I started to teach myself, what does it mean to be a landlord? How do you set up a rental property? And then I bought another house. And then, I just kind of kept going and using the equity and learning as I went along. So it wasn't any formal training, no workshops and classes, just trying to figure out how to make this money work for me. The little bit of money I had at the time, trying to, I heard that real estate was popular and that's how you grow wealth. So I was like, okay, let me try it.
Right. And what advice would you give to those who want to take that leap of faith in real estate?
it's so hard now, right? Like when I bought, like what, 10, 13 years ago, the market was so different. Like it was just so different that things were cheaper. It was like right in the middle of this time where there was like this recession coming along, so you can find foreclosed properties. So it was so much easier. Now I feel like you got to get in now, or unless you have a whole lot of money, you'll get priced out of most markets in most of these cities. So it's really just like about saving. At this point, it's really just saving your money and setting your target, just like any other goal. You save, you plan for it, and then you just got to commit to just doing it, no matter what, no matter how scary it may seem, no matter, how crazy it may seem, you just got to do it. And the worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. It's always a seller's market. Put it on the market and sell it.
Yeah, I heard that right. There was a lot of gems you just unpacked. So if you're scared, still do it. Have a plan. Yeah, if the plan doesn't work out, you're still fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Great advice. Now let's talk about the Spice Week, because you called your husband, you called your bestie, and in a matter of 5 days, you decided that you were going to open up a Spice Week. What was your first business model with the Spice Week?
So I never had a business plan. I still don't. I just, at this point, it's like, look, y'all, I'm going to talk you through it, okay? And you just have to trust my word. So my business model was just kind of to open up this spice shop, right? Like I didn't have a business model at first, but I always have been grounded and connected to my community. And I've always known that I wanted to have a community-centric model. And so for me, that meant I was busy in the very beginning because I was juggling both jobs. I was still an assistant principal for the first almost 2 months of opening the Spice Suite. And I knew that I wanted to invite community into the space because I couldn't get into the community anymore because I was too busy. So I started allowing folks to do pop-up shops at the shop. And I knew I wanted it to be free because I'm like, listen, I'm trying to make $1. You trying to make $1. There's no point in me charging you to come and share space when I have to pay the rent anyway. And so that started, and before I knew it, there was so many pop-up shops and so many folks wanted to partake in it. And I didn't realize that would be such a thing. Like I didn't know the Spice Suite would be known as this dream incubator and a spice shop. And now it's almost, they're kind of the same. Like people talk about them equally. The spices is just as amazing as the community that I've created in the space. And to date, we've had over 450 pop-ups in the shop from Black business owners. Yeah,
that's incredible. What are some of your success stories from the incubator side?
So my Spice Girls, who I love.
Let's talk about it.
Follow me on social media. No, it's so hard for me to talk about the Spice Suite without talking about the Spice Girls because they are Black women business owners who are running their own businesses, and we met through them popping up at the shop, and they were invited to be a part of this kind of, I don't even know what to call it. This is not really a membership because that sounds cliquish. But they were invited to be a part of this community or this tribe of mine in which they help me run my business when I'm not there. And they can sell their products there as well. And it's completely free of charge. And every month I pour back into them by hosting at my home or now virtually monthly meetups. So we meet up with attorneys about trademarking. We've met with photographers about imaging and branding. We've met with marketing experts, like everything you could possibly want to know about a business. I taught them how to do it, and how we've learned it together, which is most important.
So why weren't you afraid or hesitant to open up your space for free? Because I know you said that you were going to pay rent anyway. I do know that at times when folks are in the startup space, they're hesitant to give anything away. So what are your principles or values around it? Because that sounds like that's something that's ingrained in you.
It is, but I think it's like I didn't grow up around struggle, right? Like there's a lot of like trauma connected to my childhood story. And still adulthood, story, because so much of it is still the same. But it wasn't rooted in this like struggle narrative of we lived in the house with the water getting cut off and never had food. It wasn't that sort of thing. But growing up around the type of hustlers that I grew up around, like there was always this kind of value of taking care of the people around you. And while these people were complete strangers to me in the beginning, it was still my duty to take care of the people around me. Like the moment you walk into the Spice Suite, you're part of my tribe and I need to figure out what I can do to support you. And so the money part for me was so obsolete. It was like, what could I possibly charge you to make it worthwhile? So granted, I'm not rich, right? When I started the Spice Suite, I was a lot more broke than I am now. But it's like, what do I charge you? $100? And it's like $100 is a decent amount of money. But for somebody who's selling earrings, you might have to sell your earrings $10, $12. You got to sell a lot of earrings to give me $100. So I just felt like it felt really selfish. And I feel like a lot of times people charge not because they need the money, but because they rather charge you anything than to give you something for free.
Give you something for free.
And I'd rather not. Like, I'll just give it to you because we both trying to get money. And at some point, it'll come back to me in ways that you could have never given it to me via a check or, you know, an invoice being paid.
And I'm sure every time that you receive emails, texts, and shout outs from your Spice Girls, that's that paid in full.
Yeah, it feels good. And to see them growing, like the Spice Girl, you know, just think of us like specifically, several of the Spice Girls have branched off and have their own spaces now. Like they, you know, they're still Spice Girls because I love them and they're part of my tribe and they can come to any of our meetups, but they have now gone on and they have their own retail spaces and have left their jobs, or some of them, you know, don't have spaces yet, but they've been able to leave their jobs and they're doing this full time. Like full time, they are popping up at the Spice Suite and selling their products. And that just feels really good to know that I created a space that is helping launch their dreams into, you know, new territory.
Yes. Let's talk about the spices and those who are on this conversation, literally eating your every word. They are striving to be where you are. Yeah. How did you learn? And these are the questions that I get all the time. How do I know how to price my product? How do I know how to price my value? How did you learn how to price your spices?
So that's funny because one of my closest friends, G, she literally called me yesterday and was like, are your prices still the same that they were when we had our conversation? Because she came to the Spice Suite maybe 3.5 years ago. We're 5 years old. She came about 3.5 years ago and she just sat in the window seat with me and we, you know, watching people come and go. And she's like, she just walked out here with a whole bag of spices. She paid like $100. Why are your prices so low? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like putting a price tag on them. And she was like, raise your prices. And I was like, no, but people aren't going to spend more than they spend in the grocery store. So for me, it was like this ignorance, right? Like I just based it off of what was in the grocery store. So it was like, I'll charge a tiny bit more than the grocery store charges, but not enough to cause people sticker shock. And then as I grew and I got more, you know, I hired an accountant and, you know, kind of got a team around me and did some more research. And I realized like, yo, these white-owned spice shops are charging 2.5 times what I'm charging. Why am I cutting myself short? Like, why am I selling myself short by not upping my prices, thinking that people will be scared to pay it? And I just realized at that point that I needed to grow. I needed to increase my prices. But the only way that I felt comfortable increasing my prices was when I was ready to invest in my branding. Like, I couldn't still sell you spices without proper labels or at the same price that I'm selling them now. Like, I knew that even though my friends were telling me, girl, these spices are bomb, you could charge more for this, I wasn't ready. Like, it would have been selfish of me to ask you for more money and not show you where your money is going. And so once I was able to reinvest in my branding and website and, you know, that sort of thing, then it was like, okay, this makes sense. Now I can raise my prices. In the beginning, it was just like, let's just think of an arbitrary number. And then eventually it was like, okay, now let me think about how much I put into this and my cost to travel to these countries to source and research and figure out what's going on and then come back with a number that makes sense.
And it really sounds like your growth has been incremental. So you've been able to rebrand. You would have to reinvest in your company to rebrand, get a new site, get a team around you. You didn't do all of this overnight. So even though it's beautiful on the ground, that this has been a journey.
It has. A beautiful journey, though. Like, I'm so grateful for it.
So I think it was maybe March 13th when the news was going viral about COVID-19 and what that meant. And I think it became serious for me when the NBA canceled the season. I was like, oh, this is something that we've never experienced.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you when you realized that COVID was something that was fixed and it was going to impact your business?
So for us, the day before DC issued the stay-at-home order, my friend and brother Tony Lewis and I had gone back up. We go over to DC jail, and we, you know, kind of talked to the guys over there. We were talking to them about DC Natives Day and some other community stuff that we had done. And I remember going into the jail that day, and Tony was joking because he's like my brother. So we always hug and embrace each other. And, you know, the folks who work at the jail, we hug them too because they see us so often. They're like family. And we were sitting in my car together. and somebody walked over to my car. Tony was in the passenger seat, and he like put his elbow up, like not trying to hug him. And this was before the lockdown. This is before it got super crazy. And we were joking about how funny that was, that this is what people are going to be doing soon. But we didn't think it was going to be real. And literally the very next day is when the mayor issued the stay-at-home order. And I think it immediately got real for me because, you know, going over to the jail and seeing some of the guys even wanting to sit off to the side and not sit with everybody else. And they wore masks before they told us that we had to. It was kind of like, okay, so y'all, like, this thing must really be serious, because I kind of live in my own little bubble. So to be out and see people already starting to take it seriously, and then the mayor's order on top of it, it was like, okay. And so we shut down, and not because we had to. The Spice Week was never ordered to shut down because we have a deli license, because I mix and blend spices by hand sometimes in the store. I have a license as a deli to be able to do that. So we could have stayed open as an essential, you know, kind of food business, but we decided to close just for the safety of our customers, the Spice Girls, you know, myself and my family.
Right. And so what was your pivot after you shut down and you realized that this would be here? How did you pivot?
Yeah. So at first it was just like, okay, I'm just enjoying this time, you know, at home, you know, things are slowing down a bit. I like this new pace. And then, you know, I started realizing, like everybody else, that while I love to cook, and I cook, you know, almost daily, as people see on social media, everybody else was cooking. And friends and people I know who don't normally cook were starting to cook. And they were hitting me up like, wait, so how long is the store going to be closed? Because I need to go in and get spices. And I'm like, I've been open 5 years and you haven't been in the Spice Week before. Now all of a sudden you want to get spices.
Right.
And it started to hit me like, yo, people are really about to be at home cooking more. I need to find a way to get these spices to people. So let's stay closed for a while and shift our business model with our e-commerce and do more spice boxes. So we started going from 100 boxes a month, where we were doing in the very beginning, to, you know, 8, 9, 1,000, you know, 1,500, 2,000 boxes a month. And they were still selling out in minutes. And that's when I realized, you know what? We got to figure something out. We got to put some improved systems in place, because if I'm selling out 1,500, 2,000 boxes in 3 minutes, I need to be able to do more of this, but do it in a pace that makes sense. Like, I've always been very transparent with my customers about the fact that we're going to grow. The Spice Week is going to always grow. Like, evolution is inevitable for us, but we are not going to grow when y'all say grow. Like, just because you say put more boxes online, it's not that easy. Like, let me go on the back end of my site and just put boxes and they're going to magically appear. Like, that takes work. So it was just this gradual. That too, the pivot, while it seemed instant, was also incremental.
That's good. And that's good for everyone to hear, because we posted a picture of you sitting on top of, it looked like hundreds of boxes.
Yeah,
and so,
thousands,
thousands of boxes. And I think it's important for folks to know that you made sure that your processes were in place. So you can continue to operate in excellence that people experience when it actually comes to the physical Spice Week.
Absolutely. And we hired people. Like, we hired people throughout the pandemic. We hired 2 additional operations team members over the pandemic to be able to help us to keep up and, you know, make sure that we weren't starting something that we had to stop, because I don't ever want to get to that space where we start doing spice boxes and then all of a sudden I have to say, oh, we no longer offer that. Like, we aren't going to start it until we're really ready, so that we can continue to do it and improve upon it, not have to pause and pivot and shift, you know, our models again and again.
Yes. All right, we're at our last 4 to 5 minutes. And
that was fast.
That was fast. And so what I love to do, and you're a former educator, still an educator, so you know, I love for people to leave with something that they can implement. Let's talk about some tangible tools that businesses can implement who are looking to improve their physical presence online, the branding. What's something easy that they can do starting tomorrow or next week?
Post. I think, you know, it sounds so simple, but it's like, there's so many times when folks will reach out to me to do pop-up shops, and I would always ask for their Instagram name, and I would go to it and I look at the last post and I'm like, wait, you haven't posted in like a month. Like, you want to pop up tomorrow, but you haven't even told us what you're doing right now. So I think posting, you know, it sounds so simple, but people negate how important it is to kind of stay present on people's mind, especially now at a time where retail is dying, you know, and folks aren't going out into stores as much. If you have an opportunity for e-commerce, you have to stay present on people's minds. And the only way to stay present is to stay, you know, physically on their timeline and make sure that your posts are meaningful. Like, people need to separate your business from your personal. I have a private personal page that I won't ever make public, right? Because what I believe politically, what I believe about, religion, like all of that stuff needs to remain in my personal private page, and not on the Spice Suite page, because y'all don't come to me for that. Y'all come to me for food and fashion, and I'm super clear about it. And that's what I give you.
You do serve us with the fashion and the food too. All right, what advice about email marketing? Because that's important. And what do you use?
Yep. So I am horrible at doing email marketing, honestly. You know why I'm horrible at it is because I hate feeling like I'm being spammed by other companies. So I'm always super scared to start sending a bunch of emails. So what I will tell people, what I do though, is I only send out emails if it is something that is absolutely important, that I need to get out to people, that I feel like needs to go beyond social media, right? Like when we were announcing that we were finally going to reopen the store after being closed for a few months, that warranted an email, because that was something that was super important. And also making your email marketing concise. You don't have to send 50 emails. When you commit to sending one email, even a quarter, it makes you very intentional about what you're saying, because you won't get an opportunity to talk to them for a couple more months. When you start sending out emails once a week, even monthly, then you start rambling because you feel like you can, and nobody's really reading it. So really I think it's just important to be mindful of people's time, whether you have it in the physical presence or their time while they're sitting opening their emails.
Yes. I really believe authentically have something to say or don't say anything at all.
That part.
Because people know the difference.
Yep.
All right. Final question. Yes. A lot of business owners are questioning due to COVID, even before COVID, if they're doing what they're supposed to do. Are they in the space? Should they keep this business? Should they close? And it's a number of confounded reasons, especially why Black women sit at night and question.
Yep.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs, small business owners who's sitting up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning wondering?
First, go to sleep, because sleep is important, right? Balance is important. I always say that. But I think it is important to operate in authenticity, right? Like sometimes the business that you are trying to operate feels difficult because it's not authentic for you. So you are trying so hard to create content. Like for me, it's so easy to create some content and run my own social media because it's so authentic. It's who I am. Like I am showing you just me. I'm cooking the food. I'm wearing the clothes. I don't have a stylist. Like I am showing you my processes. I'm telling you stories about my real life. And sometimes when it's so contrived, like it takes a lot of effort. So pause. And even if your pivot, sometimes your pivot just means, you know what? I'm no longer doing this because that feels forced. I'm going to pivot and just show up as just me and see how this business changes. And that might go well or not, but your tribe will find you. Stop trying to buy customers. Your tribe will find you. The customers will find you and follow you. It doesn't matter if you have 500 followers, you could be making more money than folks with 5 million. Just stay focused and stay authentic.
That is a whole word. And there was a question that came up about partnership. I think that's the answer. Stay authentic, trust your gut, your principles, and your values. You will know if a person is a good partner or not. Angel, I think the world of you.
Oh, I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for showing up, how you show up, and being an inspiration for all of us. We have to tell everybody, I feel like they know where to find you, how to keep up with you.
I'm grateful. There might be people who don't, and I welcome all the new tribe members to the Spice Suite. But you can find us on social media on Facebook or Instagram at the Spice Suite, and it's SUICE, like a hotel suite.
So thank you so much, and take good care.
Thank you so much.
Back on you.
Well, I don't know about you, but that whole conversation was amazing. And Angel, I'm originally from Baltimore, so the next time I am ever in town, I'm definitely coming to your shop to check you out. So just remember the girl with the yellow glasses, because I'm definitely coming through. We hope you all are enjoying the Village Markets virtual event, Accelerate Tools and Strategies to Push Forward, which has been brought to you in partnership with our friends at Shippo. We are grateful to you all for tuning in for today's talk. Now, I have the distinct pleasure of moderating this next panel discussion. I am going to be joined by Arvinger, founder of Support Black Colleges, Phillip Akhzar, founder of Arka, Mario Paganini, head of marketing for Shippo, and Ashley Scorpio, VP of partnerships for Hawke Media. Thank you all for your time, first of all, and I'm ready to dive in. All right, so this is what I'm going to do first because I want to make sure that everybody knows who you fabulous people are. So I'm going to ask you all to go around one by one, and based on who I see on screen, Corey, I'm going to have you go first. Can each of you give a quick introduction about yourself, your personal background, and your company?
Yeah, so how you doing? My name is Corey Arvinger. I am the CEO and founder of Support Black Colleges. Support Black Colleges has been around since about 2012 and started on the campus of Howard University. I recently moved to Atlanta from Washington, D.C. I took the opportunity to work with Mr. Tyler Perry, doing social media marketing and branding for Tyler Perry Studios, while simultaneously building Support Black Colleges. So our brand focuses on bringing awareness to HBCUs and really just doing what our title is, which is supporting Black colleges. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
All right, Phillip, you're up next.
Cool. Thanks for the intro. Phillip Akhzar, founder of Arka. We've been around for roughly 5 years. We're a platform that helps businesses design and purchase packaging online. I have a background in industrial engineering, and packaging sort of followed me around in my career. I didn't set out to build a packaging company. But for every company that I worked with that had a physical product, it came up as a bottleneck, since every physical product you buy needs packaging, and found out that there should be an easier way. There should be a more accessible way to get packaging, because we're not just going after Procter & Gamble and Kellogg's. We care about, the smaller long tail of businesses, which is why, we're on Shopify. We're the only packaging provider on Shopify. So if you're just a small business starting out and you want to have beautifully branded packaging, you can get as few as 10 through Arka, and you don't have to be, huge and have a bunch of funding to be able to have the same type of branding and expression of your company like larger brands with money might have.
Awesome. Ashley, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Scorpio. I'm the VP of Partnerships at Hawke Media. I oversee all of our partner programs, including with amazing partners like Arka and Shippo. So I'm always working to manage and grow our business and our network. I'm a digital marketer myself. I have about 12 years experience in traditional and digital marketing. My core expertise is paid social media, so growth hacking, if you will. And my specific verticals that I have the most experience in are e-commerce and B2B SaaS. I've also been working with startups since about 2008, whether it's mentoring or advising entrepreneurs, primarily on the marketing side of things and growth for their business. And here, Hawke Media, just so you know what Hawke is, we are a digital marketing and advertising agency. We're also known as your outsourced CMO. We have offices in LA, New York, and Boston, but we're all working from home and have been. So we've all sort of spread out across the country. And our focus is performance digital marketing and advertising for e-commerce brands. And so, yeah, that's what we do.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Mario Paganini.
Right on. Yeah, thank you, Kris, and thanks, Dr. Key, and everyone from the Village Market team for hosting us again. This is now my second opportunity to speak on one of these Village Market events, and have been missing it ever since the last time I did it. I think one of my fond memories from last time was realizing that I don't have to be particularly entertaining, because pretty much everyone else on the call was way cooler and smarter than me. So my best move tended to be to kind of keep my mouth shut and let all the stars shine, which I'll try to do again today. But a little bit about me. Obviously, I'm Mario Paganini. You can see my fanhood for Mario behind me. I head up the marketing team here at Shippo, been in digital marketing my whole career. Specific to Shippo, what we do, we try to take kind of all of this not sexy, boring, but yet critically important pieces that go into shipping, which is really the convergence of the digital and physical world for e-commerce. We try to bundle up every single piece that an e-commerce business is going to need to go live and manage their shipping into one easy to use platform, and make that connection as easy as possible for business owners. So really what we're doing, if you're selling on Shopify or Square or Squarespace, Amazon, eBay, wherever you're selling, we make it as easy as possible for you to plug that platform right into Shippo and get immediate access to kind of everything you're gonna need from shipping, from what rates to show at checkout, what carriers to work with, how to print shipping labels, how to share tracking information with your customers, how to manage returns, and try to make all those pieces as easy as possible, so that even if you have no prior experience with shipping and logistics, you can plug into us and be able to deliver that kind of top level experience that your customers are going to expect.
Awesome. Well, first of all, once again, thank you all for your time today. I'm so excited to be with you on this panel discussion. And a lot of people are already asking about your companies in the chat. I was checking that out in the comments, and they're saying, oh my gosh, I was wondering about Arka and Shippo. So that's great to have a lot of excitement. So now let's dive into some questions. Okay, so this is actually going to be for everybody, and we'll go around to each other. So what have you seen from the unique vantage point? And when I mean vantage point, in terms of the trends towards e-commerce, away from the brick and mortar, and basically across the years since COVID has started. I mean, a lot of people have noticed the trend, but you all are experts in your definitive niches. So of course, I wouldn't be a lady if I wouldn't extend the first response to a lady. So Ashley, what's your thoughts on that?
There have been so many changes this year. It's absolutely incredible. You know, in e-commerce as an industry as a whole, we saw about a decade's worth of growth in a quarter. And that's just astronomical and incredible. So it's a great opportunity for any e-tailers and merchants who are already selling online, as well as any other, you know, small businesses and brands that are thinking about making that jump and that pivot. And I think, you know, Mario can speak a little more about this, but at least with our clients, one of the things that we noticed starting in March right away, we started getting more and more asks specifically about shipping, about fulfillment, and those types of things, because more and more of the e-tailers or e-commerce merchants that we work with, we're running into those types of issues. And similarly, that goes hand in hand with Arka, because obviously, if you are previously a brick and mortar retailer, you know, and you could have your new customers experience the look and feel of your brand and your product in person by coming to your store and meeting you and getting to touch and feel or taste or smell your product, whatever it might be, like if it's a spice, like what we were just talking about, you know, how can you try and replicate that experience in e-commerce? It's really hard to show up online the same way. But one of the ways you can do that, at least with a new customer, is have beautiful packaging, right? So if you receive something, you could leverage an Arka to ensure you have just an amazing unboxing experience. And that's a really big thing for a new customer. And similarly, if you leverage Shippo and you're ensuring your customers are getting great tracking and shipping notifications, you know, it's great for you on the back end as the business owner to help you with your labels and your discounts and things like that. But then for the consumer, they're getting a more seamless experience as well. And those are some of the key shifts that we've seen, is making sure that your manufacturing is sorted out, your shipping and fulfillment is sorted out, making sure your packaging is beautiful and dialed in. And then, of course, similarly, you need to try and reach these people online. So, you know, you should be ramping up your digital marketing efforts and spends and thinking more about how to reach new customers online, and then also how to retain them long-term.
Absolutely. I agree. That's a great point. I'm going to actually segue to Corey, because Corey's on the opposite side, you know, of this perspective as being a direct to consumer. And I think that it would be great to really hear from, you know, somebody as far as the experience, like what you've seen personally. So Corey, can you, you know, elaborate on that?
Yes, I think it's been super interesting. I mean, for me, I never really wanted a brick and mortar store. For me, I think more rent, you know, more security, more upfront costs. So for me, I was kind of never into that. We decided to go e-commerce, and at first we were like on like Big Cartel, and it was like kind of doing a little bit here and there. Then we moved to Shopify, and I was like, these apps and integrations, and like I felt like my life was changed. So it's been super cool because, I mean, since COVID happened, we've been seeing this extreme increase in our numbers. I think it's a factor of a few things. I mean, more people are on their phones, more people are at home, and then, like, of course, we increased ad spend. So, I mean, we'll spend anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 a day in ads, and we're like blasting people on Google, on Google search words, SEO,
Instagram. I've seen your ads on Instagram.
Yeah, so we have if you click on our site, you click on something, we're gonna follow you for 30 days. We're just making sure we kind of hit you at all aspects, but with different kind of content. It's not just enough to like have content, but diversify your content. And you might show a hat this time, you might show a hoodie this time, you might show a lifestyle video, you might show an instructional video. All those things mixed with packaging and a cool shipping experience can really like take your business to the next level and allow you to be able to thrive in an industry like this. So I think right now, if you have an e-commerce brand, now is the time to shine. Now is the time to really get your product out there and push while you have everybody's support, while everybody's looking, the eyes are on your court. So now you have to really determine what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go back a little bit to Ashley's point, and this is for Mario and Phillip, because she talked about a lot of the experiences that both of your companies could be experiencing since COVID. So Mario, I'll start with you. Can you really elaborate, on your thought process of all of this, especially, with COVID being here and just seeing the trends? Can you elaborate on that from Shippo's perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, echoing a lot of what Ashley said, because it was spot on. I mean, we've seen over the last just quarter or two, we've seen essentially e-commerce's share of total retail more than double, which represents more than had grown in the previous 10 years. And so obviously, just from a macroeconomic perspective, there's just so many more kind of buyers in the marketplace looking for goods online. And so pretty much across the board, all the merchants we work with at Shippo are just seeing so much more demand. But I think the most interesting piece of all this that stood out to me and that we've been thinking about a lot is if we break down that statistic one level further, actually over half of that increase in volume is actually coming from net new buyers. So that 100% increase, half of that is coming from people who previously weren't buying from our merchants. So what that really shows us is that this growth isn't just part of this natural progression, which we've been seeing for the better part of 2 decades of more and more sales moving online. We're seeing groups of consumers that were previously quite hesitant to shop online or very infrequent online shoppers, whether it be kind of for convenience or in some cases necessity, moving online. And so what that means for businesses is now they're interacting with these new consumers who might be different, might have different kind of demographics, might have different sociographic preferences compared to kind of the maybe traditionally more tech savvy, kind of potentially younger demographic consumers that they're used to. And I think that all of this kind of circles back to what I think Ashley and Phillip can speak to really well, which is that customer experience aspect. Because for me, I think about growth can kind of come from 2 different levers. You've got kind of market influences, which we're seeing really strong tailwinds right now in e-commerce from just more buyers being online. And then the other lever of growth is obviously what you're doing as a business. And obviously from a sustainability perspective, you want to be driving as much of that growth as you possibly can. And so the question that I think should be on the top of mind of anyone who's selling online right now is, how do I capitalize on this growth? Specifically, how do I retain these people? Because obviously I'm no fortune teller. I can't predict kind of what the future holds related to COVID, but I do suspect that there will be a point in time in the future where physical retail comes back and is a much more kind of realistic outlet for folks. And I think that the businesses that have taken this opportunity to really forge strong bonds with these new customers, basically proving to them, hey, maybe you only bought from me now because you had to, but I'm going to take this opportunity to convince you that buying from me is so much better than the alternative that you'll proactively choose to buy from me even when you don't have to. And that comes down to kind of everything from your kind of top of funnel marketing, like Corey was talking about, your life cycle marketing, kind of how you engage with customers, like I'm sure Ashley can talk a lot about, kind of that unboxing and packaging experience. I mean, I don't know about you, but I probably get, I don't know, a handful of packages in my mailbox every week at like a package that can really give me that really special experience of like, wow, this isn't just the brown box like everyone else. Or I open it up and they've got a little nice note in it, or maybe they've thrown in some cool stickers, or there's a promo code, or they've sent me some cool content, just something to give that like extra oomph. It just stands out so much these days kind of amidst everything. So I really think the question for merchants is ask themselves, like, what are you doing? Not to just drive those sales, but what are you doing to drive lifelong customers? And I don't want to take your job, Kris, but I think that's as good of a transition. I'm sure can talk about this.
That's a great question, though, and I want to, let Phillip, elaborate just on the basis of the COVID trends, because, like you were saying, Mario, and Ashley said, he definitely can have some great perspectives. So I would love to hear, your perspective, Phillip, on the trends towards e-commerce, and especially with COVID, and especially in your space and in your niche. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Well, I mean, I just had 3 pros pretty much lay it down from top to bottom, so there's not much missing. But what I will say is that, again, to say that there's a lot more online shoppers that are activated, and also obviously brick and mortar moving from that space to e-commerce. So there's now new entrants into the market also when it comes to selling a product online. And those that were already selling a product line now need to be everywhere. So there's now more of a demand for omni-channel presence. So are you just selling on Shopify, or are you also on Amazon or eBay or wherever else you can sell your product? So that's something that I feel Ashley can speak to as well, just to make sure that all the channels are being pumped correctly. And if you weren't selling online before, now it's a completely new ballgame. I mean, your packaging, obviously I can speak to packaging. Your packaging needs to be different now, because the same thing that's sat on a shelf is not going to be able to be shipped in the mail. And that's, obviously where you'll need a company like Shippo to help get you set up to actually ship products online. And I'm also seeing a lot of, so we're integrated with Shopify, and we can actually see when someone installs our app, whether they just installed the app and they're a fresh store, or we can see that someone reopened their store. So either due to shelter in place or getting laid off, or a combination of both, we're seeing a lot of people try to take ownership of their destiny, for lack of a better phrase, not to sound cheesy, but seriously, like they're trying to have some sort of additional income outside of their 9 to 5. And I'm seeing a lot of people reopen their stores, get back into their side hustle, see how else they can actually bring in, a good revenue stream. And shipping product online is a great way to do that, because as long as you have the right tools, like the people that are attending this session right now can help with, then you have a pretty good shot of getting your product out there. And then from there, it's really just a matter of following best practices, which, we could have an entire other webinar to go through that. But I think a lot is mentioned right now. So it's an interesting change, and to make light of a bad situation, which is obviously, the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of people take control of their lives and ultimately their businesses. So I'm glad to be a part of that, and it's actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said something that made me want to actually lead into the next question, because you talked about packaging, and I want to really focus on specifically that with you, Phillip. So what value do you think custom or branded packaging could add for businesses that aren't really utilizing that right now? Like you said, this is a time for people to get in front of their customers. So especially with COVID, what do you see, with that? Like, what value can custom or branded packaging really be, especially for the people speaking to the ones that are not using it right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I will say is that although it's incredibly helpful, and maybe this is working against my company to say this, it's not going to solve all your problems. So you need to have a good product first and foremost, because it really is an amplifier. It's an amplifier more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So if you have something nice and want to set it apart from what other people are selling, branded packaging is a great way to get things. To be honest, it's pretty much
gotcha.
To be honest, pretty much it's become table stakes. Like, you need to have some sort of messaging and branding that's a reflection of your company's theme and your company's ethos and your company's values. That's a wonderful way to get that in front of a customer. It's almost replacing the immersive experience of being in someone's store, right? You're bringing the store to the customer, and whatever's on that package is going to make that impression. So make it a good one, but it's not going to save your product. First and foremost, you should put care into that. You should take the time to see how people react to your product. And, with Arka, we offer tools to let you pilot that out and start with small volumes. And that's something I would encourage. It's an iterative process. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just don't wait. Get something out there, get it to your customers, whether it's the packaging or the product itself. You should never wait. Once you're satisfied, you're basically too late. So get something out there, see the responses, listen to your users, and it can make a great difference, because with that comes boosting brand loyalty, customer retention. Like, no one's going to take a picture of their product side by side with a blank box. Like, that's not Instagram or Twitter worthy. It needs to look nice. So if you can get there, then it's a great way to not only get the word out, but keep like Mario was saying, lifelong customers.
Absolutely. So I want to segue back to you, Ashley, because something that you talked about when it came to, marketing was pivoting. And I think that is a very important thing, especially right now. So what marketing advice would you give to an e-commerce business that is getting started right now, or a traditional retailer who's looking to pivot quickly online? Like, what advice would you have for them?
So many things, but first and foremost, I think, and this is to everyone's point here, thinking about your tech stack or the right tools is one of the most important things you're going to have to do to get set up. Whether you are a brand new e-tailer that's coming online, or whether you're a brick and mortar that's moving into that space, I think first and foremost, you have to choose the right e-commerce platform for you. Personally, big fan of Shopify, Shopify Plus, fantastic ecosystem, extremely user-friendly. Might not be for everyone though, so do your homework and understand what e-commerce platforms are available to you, and what one's the right one for you. And something else that was mentioned were the different marketplaces. So of course you can sell elsewhere beyond your own store, whether it's an Etsy or an Amazon or a Walmart or other curated marketplaces online. You should definitely look into that. Again, diversify your income streams, make sure you're reaching new customers in different ways, especially if you are a brand new brand or business and you don't have a ton of awareness and brand awareness already and customer base. A marketplace is a great place to drive discovery. That being said, the reason I said start with your own e-commerce platform and your own storefront is because, as we saw during this pandemic, Amazon killed people's businesses overnight by deeming their products non-essential. And suddenly any of these sellers who were relying on Amazon to fulfill their orders, they were just turned off. Yeah. And if they were only listed on Amazon, there goes their revenue, there goes their whole business. And so I think you should never put all your eggs in one basket. I think marketplaces are a great place to drive discovery, but they don't drive brand loyalty. And owning your own digital storefront is important, so you can also own all of that data and understand your customer journey and reach those customers proactively, versus through a marketplace. That marketplace owns that information. That customer feels like an Amazon customer, an Amazon Prime customer. They don't necessarily feel like your customer. And so you want to change the narrative by owning their customer journey on your own site, by maybe fulfilling it yourself versus FBA if you're selling on Amazon, and having your own beautiful packaging. So thinking about the tech stack, what's your e-commerce store? How are you going to deal with packaging? How are you going to deal with shipping and fulfillment like Arka and Shippo? The other key piece, and everyone here has touched on a little bit on brand loyalty and retention and lower bottom funnel initiatives. So you're going to want to think about lifecycle marketing when it comes to that. And again, what tools does that translate into? Is that an email service provider? Could it be a Klaviyo, an Omnisend, a MailChimp when you're starting out? Similarly, lifecycle doesn't start and end with email. You need to think about SMS marketing. Postscript is a great partner of ours that we love. Extremely affordable. Another great way to reach your customers and convert them and reconvert them and refill your funnel and keep them coming back, right? So I think about your tech stack, think about the channels, think about the marketing mix. Another thing that's really important, once you have your e-com platform in place, you have your ESP in place, you have your SMS marketing in place, think about all the data you're collecting and how you're analyzing it. At a bare minimum, you should set up a Google Analytics account. You should understand the source and the medium. Where is your traffic coming from? What are your top channels? And then once you know that, kind of like Corey was mentioning, you can then think about your channel breakdown and where you're investing your marketing budget. If you start to notice, all this traffic is coming from Facebook, maybe you should double down on your Facebook ad spend and your investment on those channels. And similarly, because I also talked about diversifying, not putting all your eggs in one basket, Facebook recently rolled out Facebook and Instagram shops. Mm-hmm. And so any business, it's especially a great tool for a small business that's starting out, can set up a shop for free on Facebook or Instagram. So people can shop directly within those apps. And that's another great way to get your feet wet and start to venture out into e-commerce. There are just so many things I could say on this topic, but I want to give, my friends and partners here a chance to jump in too.
Well, listen, that was a great wealth of information, and people in the chat are loving that. Somebody said that they need you in their life, so maybe you might have to take an additional situation after this a bit. But you brought up a great point about Corey, and I want to segue to him really quick. Some people, think when you're starting a business, you want to make sure that you have the right team, and especially during COVID. So do you, or did you have a mentor or an advisory board in place to help you reach your specific benchmarks, especially when you were talking about the money that you invested into advertisement and making sure that you double down on certain steps? Like, did you have somebody to help you with that? And also, what system and mindset changes can businesses implement to scale from startup to 6 or 7 figures?
Yeah, I mean, my mentor is something I like to call YouTube University. So everybody has access to YouTube, and that's how me and my business partner learned how to do everything. I mean, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have a Damien John in my ear saying, hey, do this, do this. I didn't have any Shark. It was a lot of trial and error. A lot of times people ask me for information, and I give them the information, but I also let them know they have to try things for themselves, because what may or may not have worked for my business may not work for your business. And
Absolutely.
so the trial and error is a key in actually getting your hands on. So before we hired somebody to run our ads, we ran our ads. And so I was spending 25 cents a day because I was so scared to lose money. But I wasn't seeing any return. So I'm like, all right, well, let me do $5 to $10 a day. And so then I would do $5 to $10 a day to people who like these things in Atlanta between the ages of this and this. And I would be like, okay, we made $20 off of that. So I'll give a little more money to it. Kind of what Ashley was saying is, diversify and figure out what works for you and then add the money to it. So, I mean, it's just really trial and error. People want handouts, but you really have to be able to do the work. I mean, Gary Vee always says it, he gives all this information away for free, and half of the people won't even go implement it. So, I mean, that's one of the things, just getting out there and getting it started. So for us, I mean, we took a lot of risks. I'm still taking risks to this day. And if I lose it, I lose it. You know what? That's the worst that could happen. But if I gain from it, now I have another option for more revenue, more customers, more loyal customers, and a bigger fan base. And then also how to scale up from, let's just say a few thousand a month to, 100,000, 500,000, whatever that looks like a month. I mean, for us, it was one of those things where I remember when we made $4,000 in a month, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is wild, $4,000. And now we're not hitting 400K. I'm like, what are we doing wrong? But it's one of those things where once you find we're super niche. I mean, support Black colleges. I mean, it's that's it. Nothing outside of that. But what we also had to do was we had to figure out, okay, you look at the timing, what's going on right now in the world. You look at how am I able to use my niche to kind of make sure I'm still with the times. I think Phillip spoke to it, the packaging is super important. One thing that I would like to say is if you think about when you look on Instagram, you see people taking a picture of their Louis bag or they shop at Gucci, but it's just the bag. It's not the actual product, just the bag. That bag is a symbol to them. It's it means something. And so you want to put product in your packaging and all that stuff to have that too. When every package, we put a sticker and we put a card for a discount code. And now we're putting a voting registration card in there. So it's telling people when to vote, when the deadlines are. And I see so many people take pictures of that. A sticker, a sticker that costs us 10 cents is free promotion. So that's one way we were able to scale. I realized that after we started putting those little things in there, we started getting more followers every time somebody puts it on their story. So on the average, they will have 30 to 50 people put our sticker on their story, and it's just free promotion. So that's another good way to kind of just take it from a small level to a big level. But then, for instance, so everybody heard what happened with Breonna Taylor, which was super unfortunate, and the what happened with the decision and everything. So for me, I'm one thing that's important is that our Black women feel support. And so we made a shirt, Support Black Colleges, and I actually have it on right now. It says Support Black Women. And so it's still our branding. It's still our brand. We're all about supporting. And then on the back of our shirt, it says Black women deserve better. And this is still on brand, but it also fits to the time of what's going on. And so it's important for your business to be able to get, to diversify with whatever's going on so that you won't be left behind, because another company is going to be thinking about something to kind of help their sales. So you need to make sure you stay up with that curve as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I could sit and talk to you all like forever. I really could all day just because the wealth of knowledge. And I hope that you all are watching or taking in these gems because they all, in respectively of their unique industries, they're giving you great information. So I know we're getting ready to start coming up to Q&A, but I do have a final individual question for each of you. I just ask that we keep the response to 2 minutes because the chat is blowing up right now. People want to talk to you all. They have questions, and I want to make sure that they get their questions answered. Okay. So for the last round, I'm going to start with actually Phillip first. When do you think is the right point for a brand to invest in a branded packaging experience? Because, you know, some people might be in a startup space and they might be thinking about going back to Corey's point, where to put their money and their option, but branding is a huge part. So when do you feel like, you know, when do you think is the right point for a brand to invest in that branded package experience for their customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like Corey was mentioning with ads, how he started seeing a return on his investment. Similarly, when you're seeing a return on the investment on your own product and people are starting to like it, that's where packaging can become an amplifier. That's where you can set it apart from the other folks that are selling maybe a similar product. But look, you can always pilot something out the gate. The only thing I ask is that you don't break the bank thinking that packaging is going to just, you know, get everyone's attention, because it's not. It's a multitude of things, right? Are you running ads properly? What is your messaging through social media? How are you reaching your customers? Is your product, you know, is your product on brand with what you're even saying? So getting all that out of the way first, because sometimes even in our webinars, when we talk about different packaging options, we'll say, look, if you're just starting out, you're based in the United States, go to USPS and get boxes for free. Yeah. From there, if you're noticing that you have a little bit of traction, or at least you're getting, you know, some sort of responsiveness from your customers, okay, bump it up now. Now you can go from maybe like Corey was talking about how he has a package with just a sticker. That's totally fine. And then when you want to upgrade from that, you can get some sort of custom branded packaging. You can start, you know, a lot of people, they'll pilot with, let's say, a VIP program that, you know, select customers that have either been loyal for a really long time, they're high spenders, they're very vocal, big advocates of your company. Then maybe you could do like a small run of, you know, 10, 20, a few hundred, a few thousand, depends on your customer base and how big it is, of branded packaging to just see how they respond. So the answer is really, it depends, unfortunately. But it's whenever you see some sort of responsiveness from your user base, you can do branded packaging right out the gate. I don't want to say that there's any rules behind this, but look, if you have the money to spend on this because you're seeing a return on people enjoying your product, do it as soon as possible, because it's probably going to change. It's not like, oh, I have branded packaging now, this is what it's going to look like forever. No. In the same way that Corey was mentioning how you need to stay with the times and stay like everything is fairly contemporary and current, that's going to be a reflection of your branding as well, and ultimately the packaging that your brand. So it's an iterative experience. It's an ongoing experience when it comes to branded packaging. It can begin and change for the entire life cycle of your product.
Gotcha. Totally understand that. So Mario, I want to segue this last question to you about, you know, value. So when you think about, you know, what strategic value is, like, how do you look at it from a perspective? What strategic value does a shopping and logistics technology solution like Shippo have in a time like this? You know, holiday season is approaching. We don't really know the state of the world when it comes to COVID-19. You know, Dr. Fauci, who I am like a saint for, I watch him all the time. He's saying, hey, it could be this, hey, it could be that. We just don't know. So what kind of, you know, strategic value does a shipping and logistics technology solution like Shippo, how can it be for a time like this? Like, what's a great value for it and for the people that are actually watching today?
Awesome. I love it. A softball question for me. You're too easy on me, Kris. But I mean, I think that ultimately when I think about like what I do professionally, kind of a very rudimental answer would be like, I sell and market shipping software, but I actually don't think that's what I do. Really, what I'm here to do is to help people understand the importance of shipping. And that's kind of a tough job, admittedly, because we think of shipping as this like backroom, annoying, expensive, cumbersome, not sexy thing. But ultimately, it's that mindset that gets a lot of businesses into trouble. Because ultimately, when you're thinking about this is like, oh, this is just this annoying commodity that I've got to optimize. Like, I've got an e-commerce business, I've got to deal with shipping. I'll figure it out. Like, let's just get products out. You miss out on so much value. And that ultimately, when I think about shipping, I think about the process of just purchasing a shipping label being like this minuscule piece of a so much bigger workflow, that when you think about shipping, it's really coming into play from the first time that a prospective customer lands on your website, all the way through to the point that that person's now become a lifelong customer. And so you think about things like, how are you promoting your shipping? How many websites have you been to that have some sort of free shipping offer? Maybe they've got a speed SLA. It says, order by 4 p.m. and get this by tomorrow. That all of these mechanisms really come into play, and that shipping plays a really big piece in whether or not customers convert. Like, we've seen studies that we've run have shown that up to 60% of cart abandonment has come because of bad shipping options. Mm-hmm. And then you think about, even after you've already shipped out the package, it's been picked up by the USPS, it's in transit, you might be thinking, oh, my job's done, but you're really selling yourself short if you are, because ultimately how well you communicate with your customers, how well you process a return, if that ends up being the ultimate outcome, play a huge role in whether or not that customer is going to come back. I think one of my favorite ironic statistics, no one likes to talk about returns. No business wants to have their product returned. But ultimately, if you kind of try to diminish it or not spend enough time actually making a good return process, you're losing out big time. So one of our other great partners, Shippo, they did a great study and found that 95% of customers will come back and purchase again following a positive return experience. That number goes down to like the low 20s if on a negative return experience. So if you as the merchant are like, I'm just going to like find bare minimum, or I'll make it as hard as possible for people to return so that I diminish the number of returns I get, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. That it's really not about whether or not I make this one sale. It's about whether or not I capture this person as a lifelong customer. And so what we will tell merchants is, like, a return, you should see it as any other potential positive interaction. And that ultimately, kind of tying this all together, there's all of these pieces that go into shipping. How you promote it, what options you show at checkout, what your back-end workflow is, how you communicate with customers, how you process returns. And the real value in all of this is getting each of those pieces right. It's not about reducing cost or saving time. And obviously those are great benefits, but it's really about driving growth for your business. And if you can figure out all those individual pieces, you stand to grow significantly. It's going to be a really big boost to your business, especially now with so many more consumers buying online.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And I'm going to segue this to Corey and Ashley. I'll make this, you'll be right after, be the last question, because these questions in the comments, like they want to talk to you guys, and I want to make sure that I get through everything. So for Corey, when you look at holiday season is coming, and Ashley, I want you to start thinking about that too, as I'll get to your question in a second. Many businesses are experiencing a plateau in sales, right now. So what do you think, Corey, is or are the most important things that a business can do to catapult their brand right now? Like, think, in spite of COVID, we're so many days out from the holiday season. Like, somebody is, their brand right now, their sales are like plateau, and they're trying to figure out, like, tonight, what can I do, Corey, to change that experience for my brand?
Yeah, I mean, everybody asks, like, what's my favorite way to market? And mine is grassroots marketing. Like, that's how, like, we grew to where we are now, is grassroots marketing. You really have to know your customer and really have to figure out what makes them want to buy with you. What makes them want to spend with you? Why do you want to buy my product? I think when you understand that, it really helps you to understand how to make more money because of it, because then you can replicate the process for different things that you have in your company. I think that, now grassroots is normally like, I walk up to somebody, I'm trying to sell a CD. Hey, listen to my music. This is what I do. That's kind of like out of the way right now with COVID. So you can't really like do too many things in person. But what you can do is, like, whenever you post a picture or a video or a product and people are commenting, interact with them, respond to all DMs. This is stuff that's really simple. And it seems like something that, people are kind of looking over, but it's really important, because any DM that we ever receive, we respond to, and people feel like they can always reach out to us. They feel like we're their cousin or something like that. And it's super important to start to do things like that to help build that customer loyalty. And just like you said, the return thing is awesome, because, like, people see returns as a negative thing, but at the same time, there's times where we ship the wrong item and we're like, oh, just keep it. We'll just see the right thing. And they're like, oh, really? Like, oh, I'm about to get something else. And I've seen people really convert off of that. So even if you plateaued and reach your top, just figure out a way to really engage and really entice your customer. Figure out what the big companies are doing. I'm looking at what Nike does. I'm looking at what Adidas does. I'm looking at what all these companies who sell millions of dollars of clothes a day. And I'm like, all right, they're kind of releasing their fall collection now. Okay, cool. These colors are getting used this season. And I'm like, all right, how do I make that fit because they know what they're doing. These are people who made it. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I implement some of these processes? Also, YouTube University, you can always look at, hey, how do I increase my sales on my e-commerce store? I'm telling you, the answers are there. Like, you're going to find the answers. So just figure out, what you need to do as far as on a grassroots marketing level. Text is my favorite way to reach people. We send out a text, our site goes 700 to 1,000 viewers immediately. Like, immediately. That text is like everybody has their phone in their hand. Everyone's always looking at it. So I would definitely say use that. We use something called SMS Bump. We use Klaviyo. A lot of those marketing softwares are really cool to use as well.
Awesome. And so I'm going to turn this over to Ashley. So, when it comes to direct to consumer brands, they traditionally have seen, a big boost during the peak holiday shopping season. Seeing and given that this is a very unique year, what do you think brands should expect to see, and what marketing advice would you have for them as they're preparing? Like I said, we're a few days out from like the real kickoff. I've noticed personally and professionally that a lot of brands are like kind of signaling stuff is coming earlier than intended because they're trying to save face. They're trying to make sure that they, can retain their customer value. Like, what kind of advice would you really have, for direct to consumer brands right now? Because like we said, it's definitely a big boost during the peak of holiday season, but this is a unique year. So how can they really prepare?
Yeah, it's certainly a unique year. I'd say there's so many things that they can do. First and foremost, you should always have a checklist. So first, make your own checklist. Your checklist should probably be things like, whether it's you or you have colleagues or a partner or a small team, who's on deck for what and what days and times, especially because, the peak retail holidays are also actual holidays. So if it's Thanksgiving and you're going to be spending time with your family, but you have a business partner, are you guys going to switch off? Who's going to be responsible for what? So first and foremost, get to work with your team and set expectations so everyone knows who's on deck for what. If you're doing your own fulfillment, if you don't have a fulfillment partner, maybe you want to go and staff up and hire a few extra seasonal workers just for your warehouse or your fulfillment space. Even if it's out of the back room in your house, but you have a small team that's working on all this packaging. If you're expecting a surge, think about maybe bringing some extra hands on board. If you're still bootstrapping, maybe you have a sibling or a cousin who can help you out, hopefully maybe you can pay them. Maybe there's, maybe you'll get them back in other ways, but think about, getting all hands on deck. This is the busiest time of the year when it comes to e-commerce and retail. I also think, to your point, it is a unique year. So I think it's going to be even bigger and busier than ever. And that means two things. One, like I said, you need to have as much help as you can to fulfill orders, to respond to customers in a timely manner, to make their experience as seamless as possible. But you also have to think about the competition. So a ton of those big box retailers have now said that they're going to be foregoing those sort of doorbuster in-person deals, like some of the big box stores that people would typically line up for. And so they're all moving online. So that's bad news for a small business, because that means they have deep pockets and they're going to be advertising even more to drive people from, let's say, social channels like Facebook, Instagram, and others to their sites. So you have to compete with them. And how are you going to do that as a small business, competing with these big box stores? Well, couple things. I think you need to plan and budget carefully. You need to try and be as efficient as you possibly can with the dollars that you are setting aside for marketing. So number one, before you even go into the paid side of things, think about what you can do on your earned or owned channels, like your email marketing, for example. Sure, you may be at one point paid to acquire those customers, but now that they're your email subscribers, you're not having to put a paid spend behind it to reach them on email. Beyond the time and labor it takes maybe to put together a template and get the send together, it's not costing you as much as maybe a brand new impression would on a paid channel. So leverage email. Email is still a huge channel. I think that you can clean your database early. You can maybe send out a couple things pre-promotion to check and see how many bounce backs you get, what your open rate is looking like, what your click-through rate is looking like, because that can also help you plan to figure out how you need to supplement to get the sales you're looking to hit on those other paid channels. Something else that everyone on this call has touched on a little bit is offering a promo code or a discount code. They did a survey recently. Over 75% of shoppers are searching their inboxes, looking for relevant deals and discount codes. And this also comes back to what we were talking about with loyalty, and also what Corey mentioned about word of mouth, especially if you're a smaller business. How can you get people to shout you out? Yeah, having amazing packaging when they get their product, they're more likely to amplify it, like Phillip said, and share it across their socials. Can you do a refer a friend program? Can you say, hey, if you purchase something today, you refer somebody else, you get $5 off, they get $5 off. Whatever offer makes sense and is feasible to you, but refer friend programs are great. And you can also think about other loyalty programs. You know, we have a great partner that I love called smile.io, and they help brands set up perks and loyalty programs and VIP programs, again, to try and get people coming back. So you're refilling that funnel with your existing customer base. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that they could do. I'd say first and foremost, plan ahead, make sure you're staffed up, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you have a good idea of what your budget is looking like. And then the other thing, I saw a statistic that 30% of shoppers are actually planning to make Cyber Monday their primary shopping day this holiday season. So I think maybe take that into account, think about your biggest promotion for Cyber Monday. And then there's one other tip or trick I would note to a small business that is hoping to reserve some of that ad spend. Something we saw a lot of success with recently was like exclusive product launches. Customers love that feeling of exclusivity. So you could even offer a specific product that only your email subscribers could get. For example, they have to subscribe to your email address to find about that drop. They'll get a specific landing page that they can't navigate to otherwise from your website. And then you've reached all these customers through that own channel. You didn't have to serve ads to get them to convert and purchase. They're happy because they feel like they got exclusive access to this offer, to this product. And you might sell out, you know, right away. We've seen that within 24, 48 hours. I've seen that with some other brands. So that might be worth exploring for this holiday season.
Absolutely. And I think that's great information. And I hope that you all that are watching this and are taking all this in for them, this was great information. So now we're going to get into the speed lightning fast Q&A round. So I got a few questions that are particularly to a particular panelist. So I'm going to go ahead. Phillip, first one for you in 60 seconds or less. What are some packaging trends that for the holiday season? Seems like your audio is messing up a little bit, having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Can you hear us?
I'm muted. Thanks for calling me out, Kris. I sneezed earlier and I just didn't want it to be loud. So Amazon has this thing called SIOC, PFP, and FFP, which is ships in its own container, frustration-free packaging, and prep-free packaging. So especially with people that are moving from brick and mortar to online business and e-com, shipping their products online, to be able to not have that waste of putting a product in a package that then goes in another package, you can do something called ships in its own container. Platforms like Amazon actually reward you for not having to have them do this, which is essentially just, okay, if I'm shipping this water bottle, it's going to go in a package that is the only package that the water bottle is going to be traveling in. I know that sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised how many times you might receive a product online that comes in another package outside of just the shipper itself. So something that we do at Arka is design like corrugated inserts, like little trays that you can place your product inside of that's within the box. And this way you don't have to, I mean, A, you don't have to spend money on multiple packages, but B, it's a more eco-friendly and sustainable option that will ultimately cost less, both at a per unit standpoint, because you're not buying as much packaging. And, you know, as Mario can also dive into at a shipping standpoint, because you're not like the volumetric rate would hopefully be smaller and not as heavy. So that's a great way that, you know, you could save money, and it's a better unboxing experience, I think. I mean, you don't want to open something up and sift through trash to get your product. You want it to just be nicely packaged up for you and presented the second you open up the package. And designing a box that allows that to happen is one of the best ways to do that.
Absolutely. So next question, 60 seconds or less. Ashley, you're up. I'm having a hard time gaining new customers. What should I do right now to address this issue?
Sure. So number one, if you're a small business, exhaust all the word of mouth, friends and family, refer a friend options. Number two, definitely think about investing on paid social, especially before this massive Black Friday, Cyber Monday rush, where we're going to see an uptick in the cost to acquire new customers. So do it now, do it early, do it as soon as possible. Number three, think about, is there a product market fit? Maybe the original demographic you thought would be your core customer isn't, and that's okay. So maybe what you should try is test, set up some new prospecting audiences, do some more research. Even if you have a good number of existing customers, take a look at them, try and understand what they have in common, what their commonalities are, find other people that look like them. To that point, and when I say look like them, I mean demographic information, gender, geo, age group, things like that. So not necessarily what they actually look like, but a look-alike audience is very common in marketing. They're typically some of the highest converting prospecting audiences for brands. I'm sure Corey can speak to this as well. So if you do have an existing customer list, take that, upload that into Facebook, tell them you're looking for a match of this 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, what have you. Set up a lookalike campaign and see who the lowest hanging fruit are of those potential new audiences.
Awesome. So Corey, you're up next. 60 seconds, response or less. What are some unique ways to market to college students, since you're the Support Black Colleges campaign and that's a part of your brand and business? What are some unique ways to market to college students?
Yeah, I mean, I would say meet them where they are. I mean, right now you got to think that a lot of people are not on campus; they're actually at home. And so, what I do is I follow every HBCU there is out there. We follow every single school, and we follow the people that they follow and the people that follow them as well. So I also utilize hashtags like HBCU 2024, the classes 2021, 2022. We really interact with those people that we want to have it look like audiences is exactly on point. I mean, if I know what my audience looks like, so I'm going to go directly to where they are and meet them there. They don't have to meet me. I'm going to find you, so you don't have to find me. That's how you reach somebody. So if I'm looking for people that are under 30 that like to bake and that work from home, I'm going to go to like Rachel Ray's page and figure out what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to literally go to that direct source and find my audience. So I think that's a super easy way and it doesn't cost any money.
Gotcha. Totally agree with you. Mario, got one for you. So if somebody is new to the whole shipping experience and they want to really see if Shippo is a great place for them to utilize, would you be able to do something or provide them some literature with them to sign up, tell them what you have coming up, especially with the holiday, going back to conversation with Ashley, like holidays coming, people are going to be unsure, but I also feel like in my gut and instinct, there is going to be a trend. How can people prepare with Shippo by making sure that they can fulfill stuff for their business during the holiday season?
Awesome. I love it. Another softball. So I'll try to be quick. A few things come to mind. One, and this is actually the first this is going to be announced, so breaking news, Shippo has been offering our product for free for the last couple of quarters. We are announcing next week that we're extending that through all of Q4 amid the holidays. So if you're not using us and want to try us out, totally free to get started. And on top of that, we're going to give you kind of pre-negotiated discounts with all the top carriers. So USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL. Normally, you might need to be shipping 50,000 packages a month to go and negotiate any sort of discounts with them. We can go negotiate in the millions of packages per week. And so we can pass on those discounts to you. So you can come use us for free, save quite a bit of money there. In terms of more strategic guidance, a couple weeks back, we actually published I think 11 chapter, 400 plus page ebook. We're calling the Online Selling Handbook, which ranges everywhere from like literally how do you brainstorm the right name for your business and how do you go through all the legal processes of incorporation, all the way through to marketing, shipping, fulfillment, pretty much every process you're going to need. So we're making that available completely for free online. I actually think as part of the follow-up to folks attending this event, my teams will be working with Dr. Key and her team on kind of getting a copy to that for everyone for free. So that's another great resource you can use. And then third, I mean, we've really been focusing on staffing up our team. We understand that so much of shipping is just integral to people's businesses. And for Shippo, we don't want to just be some like kind of wall of software. We're real people. We know your businesses are real people. We've got a great team of kind of dozens of folks who are talking to businesses every single day. So if you want to use Shippo and you want someone to kind of give you a hands-on demo, actually physically do the integration or digitally do the integration with you hands-on, our team is equipped to do that. We don't charge kind of any extra for implementations. You can kind of sign up on goshippo.com and request to have someone on the team reach out to you. And someone on our team can kind of walk you through anything from how to connect your store, which carriers to use, how to use our product. We kind of got everything covered. So hopefully those three pillars can help anyone out that's looking.
Awesome. Well, first of all, and lastly, again, thank you all so much for your time. My last question is that I would like to ask for you all to provide ways for people to reach you. There's so many more questions, and unfortunately, we don't have the time to get to all of them, but they are completely obsessed with all of you and this knowledge. Somebody's pen went dead. Probably somebody's wrist is sore from trying to write all these good notes from all of the great content and value that you all provided. So I'm going to have you all go around and let people know where to find you, what you might have coming up, and any last words. If we can keep this to 60 seconds or less, I would appreciate it. So I'm going to go based on how I see my screen. So I'm going to start with you, Corey.
Yeah, so you can find me at Support Black College. That's the business page. My personal page is at Mr. M.R. Arvinger, A-R-V-I-N-G-E-R. Yeah, that's how you can find me anytime. Just feel free to reach out and DM. I can answer any questions that might not got answered here.
Awesome. Phillip?
Yeah, absolutely. Arka.com, A-R-K-A.com. And you can reach out to our support team, support@arka.com. Or if you want to shoot me a personal message, Phillip@arka.com. Happy to help.
Awesome. Ashley?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. My handle's right here. It's just at Ashley Scorpio. You can also shoot me a note on email. It's ashley@hawkemedia.com. Hawke is with an E. We do offer free audits and consultations. So any of these brands or businesses that are looking to level up their digital marketing and advertising game, we're happy to help with that. And the one thing I did want to note is we are hosting a week-long virtual conference next week. It is free to attend. We have some amazing giveaways. We have tons of fantastic partners involved. We also have really interesting sessions with Google and Facebook that I personally am looking forward to. It's just ecommerceweek.la, and feel free to join us there.
Awesome. Last but certainly not least, Mario.
Right on. Well, goshippo.com, at goshippo on pretty much every social channel except for Instagram, where we're at Ship with Shippo. Me personally, I'm Paganini at goshippo.com. Please feel free to reach out to me personally. Also /Paganini on LinkedIn. Find me there. And then kind of following Phillip's footsteps, you want to get in touch with kind of someone specifically from our sales or support team. Sales@goshippo.com, support@goshippo.com. Pretty much anything you can think of at goshippo.com. Someone will find you and help you out. And obviously, feel free to reach out to me directly as well.
Awesome. We appreciate you all, and thank you all once again for your time. I know people have appreciated all the great info, so thank you again.
Thank you, Kris.
You, Kris. This has been awesome.
Thanks. All right, so Village. Oh my gosh, this was an amazing, amazing night. Like, we really hope that you found today's program insightful, educating, and encouraging as we strive to always support one another with education resources. And to that end, our partners at Shippo have provided today's attendees with a digital copy of their online selling handbook, which will be sent via email. That's why you needed to register. Will be sent via email right after this event. We truly hope that you find it to be beneficial as you continue to expand your business. We want to thank Shippo once again for being an amazing partner. A special thanks for all of you tuning into this amazing series. So we hope to see you all on the next one, and take care and stay safe. Bye.